I just hit Prime with Club Royale on Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Star of the Seas, in a very unexpected way. So I just got off the magnificent Royal Caribbean Star of the Seas. It was a 4-night showcase sailing, just going to Coco Cay with a couple of sea days. If you want to see how I got that comp, I explained it on board the ship in my last video, which I'll link in the description. Very unusual for Royal Caribbean not to fill their newest ships for at least the first year or more. There were a ton of available cabins on this ship. As a matter of fact, they were offering people on the previous sailing to stay for our sailing if they earned at least 400 points in the casino. I gotta say, the ship is phenomenal. I think it might actually be my new favorite ship. I really like the Oasis class ships, but I think that this Icon class really solves for a lot of problems that those ships have. The layout is better, the amenities are better, the design is absolutely gorgeous. They've taken the great design of Oasis and just made it look that much better. The food options are incredible. That's one of my main gripes with Royal Caribbean. Even the Oasis class ships have a limited selection of free food, but not with the Icon class. There was so much to eat, I didn't even eat in the main dining room. And of course, you can't forget the segregation of kids and families. Now, of course, you still do see kids and families all around the ship, but the Surfside neighborhood is dedicated to kids and families, and I found that that's where they spent a lot of their time. So while you do see some kids and stuff like that, it's not like wildness on the pool decks where you're at. There's a lot more adult kind of areas, including, of course, the hideaway. Because this was a last minute booking, I was working for a couple of the days of this cruise, and there are a ton of fantastic places to work from on this ship. My favorite was the Overlook, but you can also work in the Crown Lounge, and there's a ton of other spots. That's one thing I really found with this ship is they've put seating absolutely everywhere. Really cool, comfortable chairs in different locations. You can find a quiet spot to work all over the ship, especially on port days. Now on sea days, you might struggle a little bit more because the ship will be busier, but you can still find a spot. If you're working in the common areas, you're gonna wanna bring a UK to North American power converter or plug converter. Just like this bad boy right here. The reason I say that is because in the common areas, there's only UK plugs. So if you need to power a laptop or something like that, one of those bad boys will come in very handy. Back to the food for a second. Like I said, there are so many options. There's the standbys like El Loco Fresh, Sorrento's. Windjammer is so much better, but they've layered on other stuff like the Aquadome Market, which has a crepe place, a Thai place. It has a pub built in there. It has a Greek place, and it also has kind of like a Latin themed restaurant as well. And those ones are open quite late. You can pick something from one place, something from another, and put yourself together a really cool meal. Then you can head into the Aquadome and find some seating, which is a really cool vibe. That's not it though. There was base camp. There was a lot of other places. And I have to say, do not sleep on the burgers at base camp. They're smash burgers. Royal Caribbean finally has a good burger. They're joining Carnival and Princess and Margaritaville at Sea with some actually good burgers. They smash them with cheese and onions. The one thing I will say though, if you go to base camp during like peak hours, like lunchtime, they do pre-assemble the burgers. So, you know, they're not quite as fresh. The first time I had one, the burger wasn't all that hot. It was still good, but it could have been a lot better. So I wanted to try it again. I went back at about 3:30 another day, and man, it was fresh off the grill, and it was on par with Guy's Burgers with Carnival. I still think Cheeseburger in Paradise on Margaritaville at Sea is the gold standard for burgers at sea. They're so good, but these were really top notch. Also, Back to the Future, the musical, is an absolute must see. I would go on this ship just to watch that again. So I'm not a big musical fan. I do like some of them, but I don't really like a lot of really singing heavy musicals. And this one had a lot of acting in it too. I thought they did a fantastic job. The set design was incredible. They used new tech, which was really cool. You really got to check it out. Also, another great thing about the Icon class is there are a lot of pools to just chill and enjoy yourself that are not filled with kids. They have these edge pools that are smaller and they're right along the side of the deck, and they actually bump up against the glass so you can look down. There's a few of those. There's a big pool, like I guess an infinity style pool right at the back of the ship. That one can get pretty busy. And then of course, they have Swim and Tonic. Swim and Tonic is the swim up bar, and that is just an absolute vibe. So going back to the design of this ship, there are so many great places like Lou's, which is the jazz bar in Central Park. I mean, I could go on and on. The spaces are really cool. And I think a really great thing about the design of this ship, which they managed to do pretty good on Oasis, but I think they've taken to the next level, is no place on the ship seemed super busy. Windjammer is gigantic, so you can move around in it. And I just think that they do enough around the ship that everybody's not bottled up in one space. Besides, of course, the casino. But we'll get to the casino in just a little bit. All right, let's do a little room tour. And I do mean little. I had an interior. The decks are a bit of a maze because this ship is so wide. There's a lot of interiors that are kind of inside the ship. A traditional ship just has two hallways. You've got your balconies and your ocean views on the one side, and then of course you have your interiors on the inside. But again, because this ship is so wide, there's a lot more room for interiors right inside the ship, and I was in one of those. So as you can see, the room is kind of small, but you know what? I am not complaining. It is absolutely functional. Every square inch of this room was very thoughtfully laid out, and it works so well. Now, I'm not 100% sure I would really love sharing this cabin with somebody, but as a solo, it worked fantastically. The bed was really great. Great seating area. The TV was obviously positioned in a great spot. And then I really do love the way that they segregate your dressing area and the desk. And there's a nice big mirror there. Like, I think that was really thoughtfully laid out. My favorite part was the bathroom. When I'm thinking about other cruise ships, I think it was probably comparable to Grandeur and some of the other ships in terms of overall square footage of the bathroom. But the way it was laid out was absolutely perfect. There's a lot of room in the shower. I just think they thought really long and hard about how to design this bathroom. There's plenty of storage, just perfect. So of course I'm gushing about the ship, but not everything is perfect about Star of the Seas. There were a couple of oddities that I didn't really quite understand, but they're pretty minor. So the first one is Playmakers, its placement. So it is at the very back of the ship on 6, and it's behind some shops, and it's underneath Surfside, but it's so tucked away that I don't think like people really even know it's there. I guess that might be good for you if you want to go to Playmakers and, you know, just watch the game and it not being super busy. But I really do believe that Playmakers belong someplace more high profile. I would put it in the Promenade personally. Another one that was a little bit quizzical to me is they've put Giovanni's on the second level of the Promenade on 6, and they've made a walkway that goes between the bar in Giovanni's and the seating area. I don't know if I was eating at Giovanni's that I would want all that traffic coming through. It made it seem like more like I don't know, a mall restaurant as opposed to like a specialty dining restaurant, which is what Giovanni's is supposed to be. A quick fix they could have done if they wanted to kind of clean this up really quickly is they could put Giovanni's where Playmakers is in the back, where it's a little bit more secluded and private and it's more like a sit-down restaurant. And they could just move Playmakers onto the second level of the Promenade where Giovanni's is. That way you have the exposure. I think that would probably be a good fix. So back to the casino. Before we get to how I did in the casino, I want to give you some brief kind of impressions of the casino. First of all, it's beautiful. It's really large. and there's a lot of machines and tables to choose from. There's a pretty large non-smoking section. It's probably 2/3 of the casino. And in the smoking section, they've got this really cool ventilation system. They've got fans in the floor and in the air. And basically what that does is it pushes cold air up from the floor, and then it's sucking the smoke up into the ceiling. When you move from the smoking section to the non-smoking section, it is a stark difference. And even in the smoking section, it doesn't get quite as smoky as other smoking casinos get. So great job to Royal for that. They also have a bunch of tabletop poker machines. They tried this, or they started it on Utopia and Wonder, the Oasis class ships, and they've kind of done it more on this ship. I think they've got 4 on Utopia, 4 or 6, I can't remember, but I think there's 8 on Star of the Seas. And it's kind of cool to be able to just vibe up in the bar, which is usually quite busy, and just, have a couple drinks, people watch, and then slow roll and play some poker or some Keno. However, the casino is not perfect. I don't know why Royal insists on doing this, but the hallways to get around are just terrible. They're not congruent. I don't know if that's the right word, but basically they're a series of short, narrow walkways that kind of end, and then you got to turn left and right. And there's these giant pillars. So there's all these pinch points where you're walking, where you have to stop and wait. It's just not good. If I was Royal Caribbean, I would take a cue from Carnival's XL class ships. They've got huge casinos, and they've got these giant walkways that move people through the casino and around the casino, with all of the tables and all of the slot machines running off on small spines all the way through this walkway. It is so much better. It's so much easier to move around, and I really wish Royal Caribbean would take that cue. All right, so how did I do in the casino? And there's a bit of a weird story here, which I'll share with you. So day 1, I spent about 3.25 hours in the casino. I earned 237 points. I put $200 in total. I cashed out $119.90. I lost $80.10. My return to player was 93%. That's great. Day 2, I put another $200 in, so I lost my remaining $119.90 from day 1, plus I put $200 in. I cashed out with $147.49. I lost $172.41 in total. I earned 200 points, or at least I think I earned 200 points, and I'll tell you about that in a second. I played 4 hours, but that 4 hours included a lot of video poker, so I earned less points. My return to player was 83%. Not great, but not bad. All right, so here's the weirdness. I started playing on day 3, didn't put any more money in. I glanced down because I forgot to take a screenshot of the points I earned on day 2, and somehow I had 1,121 points. Now I know that's not possible because I did check my points just before I stopped playing, and I know I was just over 400 points. So I think what had happened was somebody actually played a machine that I left on my account and earned over 680 points for me. Now, some people are very religious about tapping their card out when they leave and moving on to a new card. I don't really see the value in that, to be honest with you, because people are going to see is your name and how many points you have. They're not going to know who you are, and unless they're really good at guessing pins, they're not going to be able to take money out or anything. And even if they did, you could go to guest services, they could pull out the camera, so there's no way you'd be liable for those points. So I just leave myself logged in, and look what happened. 680 points that just was added to my account. So back to day 3, I estimate that I earned 126 points. It's pretty close. I cashed out with $100.65. So I lost $46.84. I spent 2.5 hours in the casino, and my return to player was a very good 92%. Day 4. So I didn't add any additional money. I cashed out with $100. I earned 84 points. I spent 2 hours in the casino, mostly playing video poker, and my return to player was 99.8%. And the thing about video poker is you earn 1 point for every $10, whereas with a slot machine, you earn 1 point for every $5 you cycle through. So that's why I earned quite a bit less points on day 4. But again, I didn't need them. So there you go. I hit Prime. 3,004 points is what I have right now. So even if I wouldn't have got this 684 odd mystery points, thank you to whoever played on my card, I appreciate it, I would still be very close to Prime. I've got back-to-back wonders before the Prime reset, so I am very confident that, obviously I would hit Prime either way, but it's nice to get it out of the way. Now I don't have any pressure to play when I'm on Wonder. I can just enjoy the ship. Although, of course, I'm going to play because I love playing slots. Oh, by the way, when I was on the ship, already got another star offer. I think there's 3 sailings in October. They are interiors, but I don't mind because, as I said, I like the interiors on this ship. They're small, but they're very functional. So I don't know if I'm actually gonna book or not because I still have a lot of cruises booked through the end of the year and into early next year. Coming up next on the Star of the Seas series, it's every single penny I spent on this comped cruise. If you wanna be sure to be notified when that video comes out, make sure you're subscribed and click the notification bell. And if you like this video, I'd really appreciate you throwing me a like. If you have any questions, the comments are open. I answer every comment. Thank you so much for watching.